Hello. I'm on 5 seconds. Sorry. It just told me stream couldn't be created. And hello. My name's Larry Hussey, and my brands are Drug Force and Xerox Animated Cooking Show. Those are AI animated web series that I'm looking to try to get picked up by a cartoon studio to make them television because the privacy that we get from old fashioned television, antenna television, is what this series needs. It needs television privacy. And we probably had a degree of creative independence during the antenna television days that we don't have now because of the lack of privacy on the internet. And so television still has that in some ways. Antenna television still has that. And that's why Drug Force needs to be a television cartoon. So let me lean back a little bit here. And as my fans know, I'm a Washington Wizards fan. And because I love their new logo here, and I have been to Washington, D.C. once before I visited, and mainly because they're the other Washington, right? So I'm in Washington State, and see, I got the non-mirror view. And so this is the other Washington, and I've visited Washington D.C. once, but I'm not from there. And I was also a federal employee for over 3 years at the Environmental Protection Agency. So, you know, when you're a federal employee, you know about Washington D.C. So I'm a Washington Wizards fan. So since I'm the press man reporter, I get to talk about things that regular sports reporters might not want to talk about. But one thing they have to let's start with this. One thing they have talked about is this Luka Doncic trade. Luka Doncic is an NBA star, and his team made one single phone call to one other team and made a deal to trade him. That's the issue, right? I'm not going around. I'm right to the point. The GM of Luka Doncic's team made one phone call to one other team, and they made a deal. And most people have said they made a terrible deal. And so, although, as the playoffs showed, neither one of the quote unquote stars are in their prime anyway. So it might not matter at all. Both stars might be out of their prime, ready to take their Geritol, but that's another issue. I'm not going to talk about that. Anyway, my issue is that my Washington Wizards were not offered a trade. That's my issue. I mean, it's very simple. My Washington Wizards are the last place team in the whole NBA. Second to last is Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets were not offered a Luka Doncic trade. The the Washington Wizards were not offered a Luka Doncic trade. They didn't get the hey phone call. I'm trading Luka Doncic. And the thing is, why not? Because Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets have definitely demonstrated that even though they are in the NBA lottery, and I won't explain that, even though they're in the NBA lottery every single year, they do not draft well. They do not have draft skills, okay? They do not draft well. Okay? They do not draft well. So what they need to do is trade. When you do not draft well, there's something you can do. There's something you can do. Something you can do. Yes, there's something you can do. You can trade your draft picks for players now. Yay! You can trade your number one draft picks for players now because you don't draft for anything. You don't draft very well, is what I'm saying. My Washington Wizards, and the Charlotte Hornets do not draft for you know what. So they don't draft. They don't draft very well, okay? So they don't draft very well. And so they need to trade their drafts for players now, because that is another thing that kids today all know about tokens, right? Token this, token that, token this, token that. And so draft pick is like a token. The draft pick is like a token. Okay? You can insert your token when it's draft day and draft, or you can take that token and you can trade that token to another team and they will like it. And then they will give you a token for a really good basketball player. That's what I'm talking about. Trade your draft token for a basketball player. But thing is, they would say, okay, yes, we want to do that. They aren't offered anything. Why aren't they offered anything when you know they are going to be in the NBA lottery and they are going to have a high draft pick? That is what they will not talk about on the Ocho, let's say. That's what they won't talk about that on the Ocho because they don't want to. Okay? They won't talk about the fact that Luka Doncic's team did not call up the Washington Wizards and wanting those prime USDA prime lottery draft picks in exchange for Luka Doncic. Okay? They didn't call the Charlotte Hornets for those prime purple draft picks in exchange for Luka Doncic. James Harden was traded last year, or this season. Last calendar year. James Harden was traded, and he wasn't offered to the Washington Wizards or the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, if the Lakers really did want to trade Anthony Davis, and they really wanted to trade him, why didn't they offer him to Washington Wizards or the Charlotte Hornets? I mean, so what I'm saying is, what I'm entitling this is, please, Adam Silver is the commissioner of the NBA, and he either needs to step down and retire, or he needs to establish a rule where trades need to be offered to every single team. And guess where they have that? The NFL. The NFL requires you to offer trades to every team. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. The NFL they have rules that ensure that that teams get to offer things for trades. Okay, they have waiver wires and they have all these waiver wires and things that you put a player on the waiver wire, and then other teams get to bid for it. You put a player on the trade list, and other teams get to offer things for it. That's the way the NFL does it, and that's a better way to do it. And that way you don't get this Washington Wizards as a last place team year after year. That's where you get the Detroit Lions, who were the worst team, and now they're one of the best teams. That's how you get that. Yeah, that's how you get that. So Adam Silver needs to either step down and retire, or he needs to establish rules where my Washington Wizards get to bid for Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis and Jimmy Butler. That was another one, Jimmy Butler. And they get to offer their draft picks, which are really good draft picks. It's just that they don't manage them well themselves, and so they need to, trade them to a team that knows how to draft really well. You have 30 seconds left on your 10-minute break. Have a good day.